Welcome everybody. Welcome to Zoom 2, week 2, effective camera trapping. If you can hear me, perhaps I can get you to do a reactions, which is on the Zoom at the bottom. Just give a thumbs up so you can hear me. Yeah, that's fantastic, wonderful. And do by all means. Oh yeah, fantastic. And in the chat as well, which is really super. Brilliant. Okay, that's really great. So welcome to Zoom 2, effective camera trapping. It is week 2. Yes, sorry, I'm getting confused. Thank you for all the uploads of the results. Absolutely very exciting to see stuff coming through, and lovely to see feedback within the team, which is really great, and also to see some of the results, and also to witness a whole load of learning going on already, which is great, because it's only really when you start to practice with these bits of kit and start to get the results back that you really start to go up the learning curve. And yeah, it's the same for all of us, and we're still learning. Going to show you some examples today of that. So we've got various things I think to show you and various things to talk through. So if you're ready, Fraser, let's crack on.
Yep. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so yes, those of you that have been uploading material, thank you very much for that. A quick run through what we've got. Victoria, squirrels. Squirrels are very fast, as you've observed. Most squirrel pictures are quite blurry. So yeah, you got squirrels. Shiri, lots of variety on your bird table. Brilliant, great. Bird tables are great because you do, if you've got a good feeding station, you get plenty of variety. So that's good. Although, but they do tend to be very fast moving. Mark, a fox with prey. I thought that was brilliant. A fox carrying what could have been a rabbit. Bizarrely, a picture of a sheep. And then a rabbit, a blackbird, and a redwing, or two redwings, all in the same photo. So I always wonder whether we should run a competition to see how many species we can get in one photo. Yeah, rabbit, blackbird, and redwing. Yeah. Crystal, a fox, checking out your koi. Yeah, it looks like he's after a fish supper. Helen, badger. In fact, you're not the only one to have gotten badger pictures.
Nice badger pictures, yeah.
Holly, you got some wood mouse action, fighting. Wood mouse society does seem to be pretty much based on fighting. They live colonially. They live in a sort of a loose group, which is sort of constantly what's the word? Constantly in flux as to who's in charge. So there is a lot of fighting going on. And a wood pigeon, an extreme close-up of a wood pigeon who definitely wanted to be getting himself a selfie there. Joanna, a couple of really tantalizing shots. Wow. I think the mystery bird, I think, is a red kite, a juvenile. Yeah. So that's really interesting.
That was a shot of just the wings, right?
And then a mystery mammal, which I think was probably a roe deer. Yeah, just the wings. Yeah. And a mystery mammal that I think was a roe deer, but really hard to say. What else have we got? Ita, a really close-up fox and a mouse. And Emily, a very close house sparrow. At least I think it was a house sparrow, a female. So that's, a quick run through there of what we've seen from you. Now, there's a few points of learning from the material that we've seen. It's one of the reasons why it's good to see how you're getting on, because we can start to direct you as you go on to hopefully to sort of sharpen up your results a bit. The first thing, most important thing, is that a lot of you are discovering that when the camera is very close to the subject, then the subject is not in focus. So it's important to realize, of course, that these cameras, in fact, just about all camera traps, are really designed with hunting in mind. specifically hunting deer. So they're all optimized for getting shots of deer, which are fairly large animals, usually at several meters, or even a herd of deer up to about 10 meters or more. If you see some of the advertising for some camera traps, it says pictures up to 100 feet, usually in feet because they're mostly American. Yeah, do remember that most camera traps are optimized for that sort of animal at that sort of range. So we generally say for these kind of cameras, an absolute minimum of 2 meters, preferably 3. Sort of 3 to 5 meters is good. That way you're more likely to get the animals in focus. It is a sad thing, of course, that they're all pretty much aimed at hunters rather than ecologists, but yeah, that's how it is. There is a clue in the name, of course. Browning, the Browning logo there. Browning make guns. So yeah, it all connects up with the hunting business. So that's one of the things that we've learned that you can take away from some of the images that we've seen. Is it's less is more in a way. The greater distance gives you better pictures. So an absolute minimum of 2 meters, but preferably something like 3 to 5 meters, even up to 8 meters for if you're expecting larger animals like deer. So that's one thing. The other thing that comes out from some of the images that we've seen is aiming. Now, when you try to aim your camera using the little screen, the screen is tiny and you can be forgiven for struggling to aim it. I mean, I certainly do. There are a few tricks you can use. The main one which we advise is that you use some kind of marker. You place the marker and you need a marker which is about the size of a fox or a badger. I usually use my rucksack or a white plastic bag with a rock in it. I've always got a white plastic bag in my rucksack. And you place that where you're expecting the animal to be. And then you've got something obvious which you can see on this tiny little screen. And you can then move the camera around until you can see that marker, your rucksack or your white plastic bag or whatever it is, in the center of the picture. Actually, sometimes I even use my dog. If she'll sit still for long enough, I put the dog on the path where I'm expecting the animal to be, and then I've got, again, something to aim at. So yeah, aiming also is a factor of the height of the animal. If you know what animal you're expecting, you should be able to judge how high that animal is. Obviously, deer are higher than badgers. Deer are taller than badgers. So depending on what you're expecting, you might point the camera higher or lower. And that way you're more likely to get the animal in frame. But the key there loops back to my previous comments about distance. If in doubt, go further back, provided, of course, there's a tree or a post or something to put the camera on at that distance. Go further back, you'll get more in. The other advantage there is if the camera is further away from the subject, then the subject has more opportunity as it crosses the field of vision, more opportunity to trigger the sensor. So you are actually more likely to get a picture. Okay, so yeah, well done, everyone. Keep on uploading pictures. I'd love to see what you're doing. This week, of course, we're moving on to videos. So it's going to be great to see some videos from you this time next week. So yes, yeah. Thanks for that.
That's brilliant. Fraser, can I just follow on with
Joanna,
a couple of things?
Were these images from camping?
Yeah, just follow on with a couple of things that's coming up in the chat, which is really interesting. One thing is, just before we move on to that, is to think about timestamps and just the usefulness of timestamps in terms of getting, if you're monitoring tracks over a long period of time, then if you start to get an animal that's appearing at an approximate consistent time, so within an hour's window, say, over a week or 2 weeks or whatever, it does give you the opportunity to do a direct observation. So rather than wasting a lot of time, potentially hanging around a particular spot waiting for an animal to come through, if you know that your fox is coming through between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m, that's the time, probably about 20 minutes before that, to go and stand around, sit around, to make a direct observation if you want to. So these timestamps are quite useful for that purpose. So we've seen some examples of foxes, badgers, and deer, other animals, coming through. And again, if you build up a picture over time, then that's a great time slot to go and make some direct observations. Well worth the while. Cameras are great, but there's something about actually being out and doing a direct observation. You also pick up on other things that are really useful. So your sight, sounds, and smells, which are other useful clues for when you're might be tracking. So the other thing that's just in chat is just about a really interesting sort of issue, which is about records. And records maybe for campus or for any site, nature reserve or whatever, might these be new records? And in a sense, how sure do we have to be? So classic example, we've got a possible deer in a particular location. Could be a new record. Question is, don't know quite what kind of deer. Haven't quite got the picture we need to say, yes, it's definitely roe, definitely fallow, whatever. Yes, we've got the record, got the date and the timestamp, location stamp for all that. Sort of the motivation now is to say, well, could we get a better shot just to identify what this is? And this is really what we're discussing, is what's the purpose of camera trapping? So if the camera trapping is to establish potentially new records, then absolutely, then go for it. Let's reposition the camera, see if we can actually get that deer and just determine which species it is. If it's purely just to see if things are moving through and we might be interested in something else, we might be more focused on badgers or foxes or whatever, then doesn't become an issue. So it depends on the purpose. But I think it sounds like you may have some exciting new records for your site, and that's great. And I think the challenge now is, okay, can we maybe reposition the camera, or maybe it's just a question of luck, we'll keep the camera in the same location, but we just need a bit more time to see if we can get something that actually gives us a definitive on what species that happens to be. And I guess it's racking my brains, but I guess deer is a classic example. May not quite be sure what it is. It's easier because we only have one species of badger, one species of fox, etc. So, but yeah, so that's a key kind of thing. Okay, sorry, carry on. I'm just going to let somebody else into the meeting.
That's okay. Great. Okay, so like last week, I have had cameras out as well. I've had cameras out on the same site. That's the site I've always used for these courses. The same site where I had the pictures of the goshawk last week. So I was out in the storm this morning, retrieving SD cards from cameras. One of the cameras I couldn't get to because it was on the riverbank, and the river had swollen somewhat thanks to the storm. So there's another practical issue for you to bear in mind. We don't really want people taking risks in rivers, particularly when they're swollen with heavy rains, such as we're getting at the moment. So I have that camera that I don't have any results from to show you, but I do have some others. So if I can just share these with you. And we're going to, can you see that? Is it opening there? Can you see that?
Not at the moment, to be fair.
I'm really not very good at this, am I?
You used to be good at it. What's happened?
Okay, I'll have another go. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Hang on then.
When it comes to the recording, we'll edit this bit out.
Where have I gone? Yeah, definitely. Right, let's have another go. So I go there. Is that opening? No, I can't get the picture to open.
Oh no.
Right, here we go.
Anticipation.
How's that?
Ooh, yes, it's sharing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
See that?
Yes.
Okay, so firstly, I got a picture. That camera was alongside a small stream, the same stream that I couldn't cross this morning. And we have 2 otters. Looks to me like this one is the larger of the 2, so probably an adult with a well-grown youngster in tow. Hard to say for sure, but if that is the case, then this is most likely a female. So short sequence showing how even when the camera is set to taking photos, to taking stills, you can still get a sort of a partial video effect by running the sequence like so. So nice. You can see the smaller animal is playing catch up with the larger one. And there we go. So that was nice.
That's really nice.
Next shot is a bit of a surprise. Yeah. So that was taken just after midnight this morning, early this morning, by which time the stream had swollen a little. So I'm guessing the badger was struggling to cross the river at whatever his usual crossing point is. Now, this stream has plenty of crossing points where badgers can easily leap across or jump across on rocks. But by midnight this morning, or just after midnight this morning, the stream will have swollen quite a lot with the approaching storm. So the badger had to swim across. So Simon, as our badger expert, is this a common thing for badgers?
Well, it's really interesting. So there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that badgers swim, but this is the first time I've actually seen really great photographic prima facie evidence that that's what they do. I think this is unusual. I think they would be reluctant to get as wet as this. So it's a fairly narrow stream by the look of it. And of course, mostly we're used to seeing photographs of badgers using fallen trunks to go over, or other means of, without, not getting their feet wet. However, it's very apparent from many sort of, tracks and signs that you might pick up that sometimes you see really strong tracks coming down to small streams, and then obviously the animal swimming and going up the other side. That's what the conclusion you draw from the tracks and signs, but to see it photographically is fantastic. So this is a really great, I think, a really great sequence, certainly for me, and lovely. And you've got the sequence of it coming out. I assume that what I'm intrigued to know is, did it shake, like like a dog? Or like sometimes we see otters shaking, and that would be fascinating. But I think
that was it. That was actually
that was
the
it,
last,
and then
that was the last shot.
The last shot. Okay, yeah. So it's either moving pretty fast then,
it must have done.
or or the camera didn't go. So and again, really interesting. The camera picked it up. But what a chance, right again, dead center screen. It's just lucky, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic.
At
really
this point,
great.
the stream is about 2.5 meters across.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I estimate probably about 75 centimeters deep.
That's interesting. Yeah. And it's coming from the left somewhere, so it's come down, onto the bank.
The bank shelves down over here.
Yeah.
To this shingle beach here on this side. So it was if you're going to cross anywhere, given what the stream is like when it's swollen, then this is probably his safest place to cross.
Yeah.
I normally try to find fallen trunks across the stream to place the camera,
because
as you say, the animals are frequently using the stream, using fallen branches and fallen trunks to cross, but there aren't any this year. They were all swept away last year,
right?
So that's why he's having to swim across, because there aren't any crossing points like that. So that was interesting. Next up, after Mr. Badger has finished,
fantastic. Fox, nice.
Fox.
Nice.
So it's just a picture of a fox. There's plenty of pictures of foxes, but it just shows that a location like this isn't just all about taking pictures of riparian animals. So many animals are using water. So many animals are coming down to the water to bathe, or to drink, or actually just to use it as a route, a thoroughfare through the woodlands here. And that's what this fox is doing. So, using a watercourse like this for camera trapping is a really smart idea, just because so many animals are using them as thoroughfares as well as for drinking and so on.
And the thing that strikes me about that image, Fraser, is that it's a really nice coat that that animal has there. I can't see, unless you can see any signs of mange, I can't see any signs of mange. It's normally associated with the top of the tail, you know, bottom of the spine where it goes to the tail and on the sides there, and you know, it's looking in really good condition.
Sure.
They're incredibly difficult to sex, foxes in the wild, and you know, really difficult. So we don't know if that's a male or a female.
I have seen some pictures recently, given that they're rather sexually active at the moment.
Yeah.
I have seen some pictures of foxes recently where you can see some of its gentlemanly parts, shall we say?
Yes. So that so normally, if you've got a you know, video image or a shot like this, you'll be really lucky if you get those parts in view. But of course, at certain times, if it's a lactating female, then you might well catch the lactation, depending on the position of the camera. And again, goes a little bit back to purpose. You know, if we were really interested in the foxes on this site, then we might think about the position of the camera. Now we know this animal is passing. We might think of a slightly lower position, slightly closer in, to see if we could pick up that kind of detail.
Well, there's a subsequent shot in this sequence where her tail is slightly raised, and you can see there are no visible testes like there were in the shots of the males that I was getting. So 80% sure this is a lady fox.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah.
But as you say, you can't always be sure.
No. And you know, it's that's that direction of travel is interesting, and so there's definitely something happening there for whether we put the camera back in the same location or a different location to try and find out. One of the things I was experimenting with and still experimenting in the garden is to see if I can determine where our fox is coming in. So I've got a shot of the fox in the garden coming across the camera, a particular direction. I think I showed you that last week. My task this week was to try and determine where, you know, what the first bit of the travel was. Where was that animal coming from? So just like you might position your camera next time further to the left in this particular example, because we might want to determine where the animal's coming from. Whatever.
I actually left the camera. I left the camera exactly where it is. I just switched it to video. So
great. Yeah. Well, I think you've got an active. That'll be fascinating. Got an active.
See what we get.
Yeah, brilliant.
Right. Next up, early this morning, breakfast time this morning, depending what time you have your breakfast. Birds like herons, when the river gets swollen like this, they struggle to feed because the water becomes so muddy that they can't see their prey. So therefore, they become much more active. So you always get much more active herons when the river level is high, because having to move around so much more to find opportunities to feed, because the water isn't as see-through as it normally is. So that's a shot of a heron on the move. Next up, a few photos which highlight a few points to remember with camera traps. I've got a few photos here of animals, fox in this case, and a deer in this case, looking straight at the lens. And indeed, some of the photos that you've uploaded yourselves are showing the same thing. I'm going to stop sharing now, if that's okay. So that's gotten rid of that. Good. Okay, so what's happening here, of course, is that the animal can detect the camera. The animal has detected the camera and is having a good look at it and is a little bit wary, a little bit spooked by it. Now, we always used to think this was because some cameras are, the LEDs here are what are called low glow on this model, or on some models, they're what are called no glow. In other words, there is, on some cameras, there is some visible red glow from these LEDs. And on some cameras, there is no visible red glow. And so we did think that was the difference. That was what was causing some animals to stare into the lens. However, a couple of those pictures I've just shown you were taken with a very expensive Reconyx camera, which is a no glow camera. So it's not showing any light at all. So why are the animals still staring at the camera? And the answer is because they can hear it. The electronics within these cameras actually make a noise which is inaudible to us, but which some animals can hear very well, particularly foxes. Foxes are very wary of it. Badgers can certainly hear it. And as you've seen just now, fallow deer, in that case, it was a fallow deer can also hear it. So even with an expensive camera, which has no visible glow from the LEDs, the animals are still staring at it because they've heard it. So a lot of people say, oh, well, what's the point then of buying an expensive no glow camera? That's a very good point. Yeah, and I agree. I absolutely agree. A lot of people seem to be sort of sold on the idea of getting one that doesn't glow, but they're still not coming at it from the right angle. What's happening is the animals are still staring at it because they can hear it. The other thing to bear in mind is that a low glow camera, such as the ones that you have, is going to give you a better quality image with LEDs than a no glow camera. Particularly with some of the cheaper models, it is the low glow types which are giving the better quality nighttime images. So that being the case, as far as I'm concerned, there's no contest. There are other reasons for buying a very expensive Reconyx camera, particularly if you win the lottery and you can afford one. They are outstanding cameras, but the fact that they have this no glow technology is not one of those things. So do bear that in mind if you're going out to buy your own camera. Simon, you've got a video to share with us.
I have. Let's see if we
raises
can,
another little issue.
See if we can get that one to work. Let's try it. Okay. Now then, I need to put that back at the beginning, don't I? There we go. Right, so give me a quick thumbs up if you can see a white eye. You might be able to see my cursor circling around it. Yeah? Okay, great, thank you. So we're gonna play this short video, 20 seconds of video now. In the chat, as soon as you think you know what the animal is, stick it in the chat. Ooh, it's looking. Very curious. Keeps looking back at the camera. 20 seconds of video, a bit misty. Gonna stop sharing camera, stop sharing screen rather. Right. Anybody stick in the chat? I'm having problems with the chat this evening for some reason. It should be.
I'll try something, see if it
okay
works.
and functional now. Why is that not working? It says it's working at my end. Have you popped? Did you pop it in the chat? No, I can't see anything. Is our chat not working?
Oh, it's only gone to Crystal.
Simon, I've just messaged you. I can only message you directly rather than see the general group chat.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know if that's...
Thank you. I've just gone into chat and clicked the everyone publicly and privately, but for some reason it's not. It doesn't like it.
How's that? Can you see that?
Oh yes, I can see that. Oh yes.
Ah, right.
Ah, brilliant. Okay, great. I think probably, sorry, it was my fault when setting up at the beginning. I think it got defaulted to a different thing. So your chats have been disappearing into the ether.
So back to the subject.
Yes.
Anyone got any ideas what the animal was?
Yes.
It wasn't an aardvark, incidentally.
Okay. Yeah, no. Okay, yeah, somebody thinking yes, could be an owl. Yeah, it's the shape of the head, okay. Somebody saying fox, aardvark. Yes, okay, really interesting. Fox, yep. So the sort of consensus is a fox. Yes, absolutely, we believe it to be a fox very, very clearly. I thought it might be a cat when I first saw it, but actually you're right. Just at the end of the sequence there, you can see the tail quite clearly. Just as it disappears over the hedge there. So an example of not great video because the camera is located quite close to the ground, so it's got fogged. So unfortunately, I didn't have anywhere else to put it, so I had to just put it on a rock on the ground. So it's not high enough up to be out of that dew and generally damp area. So what I'm going to do is probably put it on a post over the weekend, so perhaps we can get some clearer views. But and it's an example of getting your eye in. So if you didn't recognize that first off as a fox, that's fine. This is about practicing seeing still images, seeing video images, and building up a kind of visual memory that will allow you then to interpret stuff as photos and videos as we go forward. And you know, it's not easy, and you know, even if you've been doing it for some time, as we, you know, you can still get thrown, as we have, you still get thrown, and you know, there are some images where you just can't quite tell, and you know, they're often the quite exciting ones. So you know, we thought we had, did we not think we had polecat down at Sharpen for some time, and it was tantalizing because it was just, oh, it wasn't quite it wasn't quite there, you know. And then finally we managed to get a clip of video that was and we all said yes, okay, we got it. So it is about getting your eye in, and
it's because we so often are dealing with imperfect images or imperfect videos, and that's the nature of the beast. This is not what you might call sort of high-level photography. This is a different discipline altogether. This is about remote sensing. And yes, you are dealing with images which are not always crystal clear. But with a bit of practice, once you've got your eye in on whatever species you're expecting to see, with a bit of practice, you can normally get there. Sometimes you need to be a bit more persistent to get a better shot so that you can absolutely nail it. But yes, as Simon mentioned, the other key learning point from that video is the height that you place the camera, particularly, you know, on these sort of moist evenings. I mean, here we are in Devon, where we suffer what we call Cornish weather, which is grey and murky and drizzly, which tends to fog up the lens a bit. So sometimes there's nothing you can do about that. Sometimes you can avoid it by placing the camera a little higher, at least 30 centimeters above the ground, maybe 45, 50 centimeters if you can manage it. Then you're more likely to be above that, that super saturated air, which is close to ground level. Something else to remember there.
So we've done a really great job this first week with stills photography and starting to get into getting some results and uploading them onto the virtual learning environment. That's really great. Thanks ever so much. Doing really well. And I think we're coming up to thinking about videos, aren't we, Fraser?
Yes,
next?
We are. So yeah, so a quick buzz through what has actually been presented to you this week. You've been looking, hopefully you've been looking at the virtual learning environment. We've been showing you about the PIR and how that works, the passive infrared detector. It's quite important to understand how they work, to understand more often to understand why they don't work. And why they cause false triggers and why we don't like false triggers. Then a little bit about trigger speed and how that varies between cameras. The cameras you've been sent, I think, have a trigger speed of about 1/3 of a second, which is pretty good. It's pretty fast. Some go much faster, but only a few. Some go much slower. The absolute worst have a trigger speed something like 3 seconds. You can imagine 3 seconds is an awfully long time. An animal could trigger the camera and it could be a long way distant in 3 seconds. So the camera will be taking a photo of nothing because the animal has exited the frame. Then we've mentioned video and how to make adjustments. Rephrase that. We have shown you a video of how to make adjustments. It was quite a long video. Sorry, it was even more of my boring voice, but showing you how to access the menus, how to navigate your way through the menus, and how to make any adjustments you feel you want to. So it is important that I think you get some practice at that. So do try different settings. Do try to tweak your results to try to get better images. If you have an understanding of what may have gone wrong, you might be able to compensate for that in some of the settings options. Then we've told you about the pros and cons of video. Personally, I do like shooting in video. It does have disadvantages. As we have mentioned, it uses up space on your SD card. It uses up battery power. Mostly it uses up my patience quite a bit because it takes forever to go through all these videos. Skipping through several thousand photos doesn't take that long. Skipping through 100 or so videos where you have to watch the entire video to see what you might have got does take a long time, but it is worth it. You get some fantastic behavior on videos. Then we've shown you a video on camera safety, things to look out for there. It's important to make sure your camera isn't stolen, and important to make sure it's not trampled by cows or even horses. And then sheep. Sheep just love taking selfies. I don't know what it is with them, but they just hang around for hours in front of cameras. You can very, very quickly fill up your SD card with completely boring pictures of sheep. Then a few PowerPoint slides of how to mount the camera, looking at different ways of doing that, and specifically how to use the strap. Ways of using the strap in conjunction with the wooden wedges that we've sent you. So hopefully you've got a better idea of how to do that. And then finally, the activity for this week is putting out the camera with it set to video. So that next week we'll be looking at, well, hopefully we'll be looking at some of those results. If you're able to upload your videos, that'd be fantastic. And we get to see some of those results. So that's pretty much it for this week. That's just a quick run through what we've shown you this week. What we're going to do next week, one of the changes next week, is we are going to send you a bracket like this, a steel bracket with a swivel mount. There you go, a swivel mount on top, which you can lock in any position. The bracket has a couple of holes, and we'll be sending you some screws. Now, if you have access to one of these powered screwdrivers, one of these things with a Phillips screwdriver head, where's the thing there?
This one.
Yep. If you have access to one of those, that's fantastic. If you don't, an old-fashioned hand screwdriver will also work. Yeah, you will find that these brackets will make a big difference to your versatility. We'll be showing you how to use that in videos in next week's material, but we will be putting that in the post to you probably end of this week, beginning of next week. So you'll have it hopefully by this time next week. I think that's everything I had to cover for this week, Simon.
That's brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. We've got a great question just come in actually from Kevin. Thanks for this, about the Browning microphone, the built-in microphone.
Yep.
And there is indeed a microphone. And interestingly, is there in the setup menus, is there any way of altering the microphone sensitivity or whatever in the menus itself? I'm not aware of one. Are you?
Not on this camera, no.
No, okay. No.
One or two cameras give you the option of whether to switch the microphone on or off.
On or off. Mm.
This one doesn't do that.
Yeah.
The microphone, incidentally, is just there. If you look on your camera, there's a little hole just there. And that's the microphone. So yes, it does have a microphone, and you will get all the sounds that the animals are making if they do make any sound.
And actually, I've noticed on my camera, I also get a little click right at the start of the video, which I think is must be something to do with the whole thing starting up. Although why you would do that with it on a little circuit board, I'm not sure. Holly's got a really great question here about batteries, lithium or alkaline. Just want to make sure it's okay using two different battery brands. Can we just be clear, Holly? Do you mean two different battery brands in the camera at the same time? So you might have your silver lithiums alongside your copper coloured top Duracells, or do you mean separately?
Holly's saying she knows it's no good to have lithiums and alkalines mixed together.
Yeah.
But just looking at different brands, brands of batteries. Personally, I would avoid it. I know these cameras can be pretty sensitive to batteries, particularly the cheaper cameras. Fortunately, these are not the cheaper ones, but nevertheless, they can be quite sensitive to different kinds of batteries, and I wouldn't mix them because the fact that you're using 1.5 volt batteries, these AA's are 1.5 volts, that is only a nominal 1.5 volts. In actual fact, they all differ. They all give a slightly different voltage. The lithiums are almost up to 1.8 volts. The alkalines will be somewhere in between. No doubt different brands are using slightly different voltages, and it's when you begin to mix those voltages that you're more likely to be having a reduced battery output more rapidly. Didn't put that very well. Batteries are more likely to go flat quicker, is what I mean. I wouldn't mix them if I were you. I would stick to the same brand, whether they be all lithiums or all alkalines. Yeah.
So sorry they ran out today. That was unfortunate.
So
yeah.
So Holly, did you have lithium batteries or alkaline batteries in yours as it was sent to you?
Whilst Holly's typing, if there's any other questions, then do stick them in the chat, and we can talk through them.
Aha,
lithium's okay.
Already in.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one of the problems with lithiums. I do apologize, Holly. It's virtually impossible to know when the batteries are about to die. That is the great disadvantage with lithium batteries. They are fantastic batteries. They last an awfully long time compared to other types of batteries, but they don't give you any warning of when they're about to die. The battery readout that's given, the percentage power that's given on the camera when you turn it on, for lithium batteries, pretty much doesn't mean anything. It'll read 100% up until about 10 minutes before it's about to die, and that's the way it is with lithium. So apologies for that. Alkalines don't have the same problem. They do work fine with alkaline.
Would it be possible to get more batteries sent out alongside your bracket? Unfortunately not. Sorry, team. We just have so many complications around batteries and postage and just the logistics. So I'm really sorry, but I'm afraid we can't. So we have to, if they do run out, have to rely on you to replace.
Joanna's offering some batteries.
Oh, okay.
There.
Okay, that's lovely. Right, that's very
nice.
kind.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very kind. Yep. Yeah, I was just going to say, if you're local to each other.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Fantastic. That's very kind. Yep. Yeah, batteries is, I mean, we've experimented with rechargeables and, you know, all sorts of, you know, other different systems, and it's become really complicated. And in fact, there's even an issue around sending lithium batteries through the post as well. That has to be done in a particular manner. So they're a complication, the batteries, always a complication. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Any other questions from anybody? Everybody's happy. Going to move over to video for this week. Going to upload your best 10-second video next Monday. So you can see the pattern now beginning to establish. You've got the week to work through stuff, work through all the learning materials, gather some more stuff from the cameras, and then on the Monday upload it. And then we
do bear in mind all the points that we've been talking about with regard to the distance between the camera and the expected location of a subject, with regard to the height of the camera because of mist and dew on the lens, and also thinking about the aiming of the camera and how to crack that little problem, just to get the thing pointing in the optimum direction. Yeah.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Fraser. I think on that note, unless there are any other questions, we'll say cheerio to everybody. We'll put a recording of this up on the YouTube and put a link in the chat. And the other thing to emphasize is the link for the Zoom will appear in the chat again next week on the Monday morning. I'll put the link to the Zoom in at some point, or Monday at some point. So that's where to go to find the link. And we'll see you same time, same place next week for Zoom number 3, where we'll be chatting through videos and looking at some of your results, sharing some of our results. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, then, you know, by all means, drop onto either the chat or the email. Just to let us know if there's anything pressing. Good luck. Hope the weather's okay and we actually see some animals out. I think a lot of the North and Midlands at the moment is under about 24 hours of continuous rain, which won't be great, but we never know. That's the advantage of having a camera. At least we don't have to be out there. It'll be fascinating to see what we do pick up. But it's been great. Thank you ever so much for sharing. Thanks ever so much for your support for each other and to us on the VLE, and we'll see you online. So yeah, a lot of rain. Sorry about that. Keep dry, keep safe. We'll see you same time, same place next week. All right. Bye for now, folks.